have permission to do that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me just see if I can fix that then.
Okay, Mel, I got a recording right now on my end.
So you need to do something to give us permission, and then we can, I guess. I'm not sure
I'm
how
just
that works.
It's recording now.
It's recording now, okay.
at a time optimize third-party video, record a separate audio file for participants' speech.
Well, it's one person, whoever's a host or co-host that's recording. Mark is the one who's recording. None of us can actually record it for our own computer use.
Oh,
Well, I did not know that.
Give you permission to do that.
Yeah, I've
And
had
I know
few
that by looking at the participant thing, because if you notice, if you open the participant window, Mark has a little circle with a red dot in it, which means he's the one doing the recording.
that makes sense.
Okay, so Mel, do you want me to stop recording?
No, you can record if you want to. I haven't got a clue how to do it.
I just don't know where to find it after that.
I'm
That's
still
the
trying to
problem.
figure out how to get my screen going here.
I can, if worst comes to worst, I can upload it to my YouTube and then post it.
Right, you should all be able to see something on your screen now, which is the topic for today. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I can't see who's coming in and out, so I want to thank Mark for looking after the waiting room and admitting people. So if you hear that ding dong, that just means somebody else is coming in and out. What we're going to be talking about today is isolated site. And isolated site is a lot more than just two-couple calling. A lot of people think it is just that, two-couple calling, but there is so much more to it.
Hey, Mel, before you get started, can we just remind people to please mute their mics when they're not speaking? It cuts down on all that background noise while you're presenting.
Yep. And Mark, you can mute people if you see them popping up with background noise as well, or you should be able to.
Well, he should be able to mute everybody, and then if we needed to speak, if you just push and hold the space bar, you can speak, and then when you let off the space bar, you will automatically be muted again.
Right, so I tend to make a lot of controversial statements, and today is not going to be any exception to that. In general, though, there is an agreement that says there are really, what's going on here? There are really five essential methods of five basic methods of calling, and they are reading, memory, module, mental image, and site calling. Now, there's variations of each one of those techniques, but each has significant merit and potential, and likewise, each one has advantages and disadvantages, and each one is just another tool in the toolbox. Now, you hear callers use that term toolbox all the time. The beauty of the toolbox is that for every system of calling, regardless of what you use, most of the tools are exactly the same. Okay, it's just a matter of how to learn to use each one of those tools properly. And like any toolbox, if you have a tool in it, one tool can be used to accomplish a lot of different things. And other tools are required to comply if you have a very specific task or a specialty tool. If you've got a specialty task, you need a specialty tool, and you just have to learn how to use that. And most callers, as they progress, and most of the really, really good callers, they use a combination of these techniques. So it is my opinion, and I say this all the time, that there's no such thing as pure site calling. That is my opinion, and callers will argue it, and we'll have that argument somewhere offline or after the presentation. But I say this because most callers explain site calling as just moving dancers around without having any idea of where they're going to go or what you're going to call, and then resolving the square. But moving the dancers around is done in a lot of different ways with a lot of different techniques, and the same thing for resolving the square. When you have a resolution technique, it's usually either a piece of memorized choreography from a recognized formation that just happens on the fly, or a resolution technique in itself, which involves getting them to a setup position, which takes them to a known position for a resolution sequence, in other words, a module. Now I say this because site callers use zeros, they use equivalents, they use conversions, they use setups and flows, and they'll use it all in their choreographic sequences. Hence, it's a combination of modules and site. The same applies to all the other methods of site calling and dancer manipulation, such as the post method or the quadrant selection method or controlled resolution and manipulation system, CRAMS, or whatever the next one that will be. It's vitally important, however, to know that each of these calling methods can be a standalone on its own merits. And in my limited experience, I've never really met a good modern caller today that uses only one method. The good and exceptional callers use multiple methods and change and adapt to whatever suits them best to meet both their dancer and the caller needs in order to give the best performance each time they're behind the mic. That said, each one of those methods can be a standalone method, and there are some exceptional callers that only read their choreography. There are some exceptional callers that only work off memory. There's other callers that are exceptional and they only use modules. There's some that only use mental imaging, and then there's some that use bits and pieces of all sorts of different things. So that's what you have to actually work with. They are tools, and how you use them is up to you. Okay. Today, the most popular method of calling is site calling, and whatever system you choose. I think I've gone too far here. Previous, no, yeah, oh well. What it does, site calling itself provides callers with the most flexibility and the ability to adjust on the fly. It also allows them to keep track of dancers in a whole bunch of different ways and fix problems if a mistake is made. So if you want to be a caller today, you need to find your way. You need to find a way that you're going to provide the maximum entertainment and the maximum success for the dancers. And that's what it's all about. When we talk extemporaneous, we talk about making it up as we go, which means I don't have a plan in place. I don't know what I'm going to call. I'm going to make up the sequences as I go, and God help me, hopefully everybody will get back to where they're starting from. But this last bit here, maximum entertainment and success, that is for the dancers, and that is what you need to be successful. Okay. So the question is, how do we prepare and practice extemporaneous, when extemporaneous itself basically means we don't have anything prepared. We don't have anything that we want to deal with. It's done, it's spoken, it's performed without any special advanced preparation. We may have something previously planned and have only a couple little notes or a notation, such as we're giving an extemporaneous lecture off the cuff, or we're just making it up for the occasion. People talk about extemporaneous site calling, and basically what that means is the caller is watching the dancers without any special advanced preparation, delving and delivering the dance off the top of his or her head with a couple of quick reference notes, but making no special preparations to get ready for that dance, but doing it just for that one occasion or that one tip or that one sequence. In essence, the caller is freewheeling and watching the dancers to see who's dancing with whom, using movement and formation knowledge to put them together to get them where he wants them to be. Putting this in the real world, although extemporaneous means doing it on the fly without advanced preparation and being impromptu, it is basically doing everything that every caller school and every good caller tells you not to do. Make it up as you go. Don't prepare. That's what extemporaneous means, but that's not what extemporaneous site calling means. The reality is that extemporaneous site is essentially making it up, but it doesn't mean being unprepared, because you've already prepared and practiced at least one resolution technique, so you know if you ever get lost, you can sort them out. You've already decided on a focus movement or a theme for your tip, even if you're asked to do it at the last second. Usually pick something and say, right, I'm going to play with spin the top, or I'm going to play with recycle, or I'm going to play with spin chain through, and that becomes your focus. You will already prepared and sharpened the tools in your toolbox and all the time it took you to learn what you already know, such as movement mechanics. If I do a right and left through, what does that do to the couples? If I do a touch a quarter, what does that do? You've already played with formation recognition and formation management. Okay, if I want to go from a line this way to a line that way, I can call pass through and bend the line and so forth. You'll already have a couple of modules in your repertoire, such as the chicken plucker. Flips them over to one side, brings them back. And you probably already know a few equivalents. We talked about those earlier when we're talking about writing choreography and Taminations or the other programs. It doesn't allow you to do a heads promenade halfway, but you know if I do heads right and left through, that's an equivalent. You have a lot of those. You know a lot more than you think. So you can deliver your unprepared and impromptu, seemingly made up on the spot choreography with no problem, and everyone will just go, wow, that person knows exactly what they're talking. That's sight calling. Making it up as you go takes a lot of preparation beforehand. The good news is you've been doing this, you've been practicing this, and most of you have been doing it without even knowing it. And what we're going to look at is just one technique within this toolbox, and that's called isolated sight calling. Now, isolated sight calling is a calling technique used to isolate or separate two couples in a square. It's important to remember that isolated sight is not just two couple calling. In theory, the methodology of isolated sight is to move the selected dancers through a series of choreographic sequences while keeping them in a relative paired relationship with themselves. So you notice in all of these boxes, I've just isolated the number 4 couple, number 1 man, and number 3 lady. So that's a corner box or a head square through box. So I'm moving them around the floor and I'm changing them into different positions, different formations. Like for here, I'm in parallel ocean waves. From here, I'm in facing lines. From here, I've moved the box around and I've got the sides on the inside. Here, I'm in a tidal wave. And here, I'm in a line on the other side. But I've kept that relative pairing of the dancers together. So as long as I don't interfere with that group of 4 dancers, I can move them around, keep them together, and as long as I put them back into this kind of a situation, I've got the square result. As long as I keep them together, the other half of the square is going to be doing exactly what I want them to do because that's the mirror image aspect of the square. Okay, so the 2 couples will stay together. They may interact with other dancers, but they're who I'm calling to. Now, as with any other method, this method has advantages and disadvantages. This technique is going to allow the caller and the dancers to concentrate on specific nuances of selected choreography without having to worry about the square. In other words, I can call to 2 couples. I don't have to worry about what the other side's doing other than to watch them and make sure that they're not having problems. But I can focus on the actual choreography or the movement. There's a thing called the snapshot. Some people call it a burnt image. This aspect of a technique allows a caller to quickly create a path to get to a get-out resolution in the case of difficulty. So, for example, if I call head square through and I put the sides on the outside, I can call whatever I want if I keep those 4 dancers together. As soon as I put those sides back on the outside, that square is resolved to an Allemande left. It also makes it easy to teach movements, which as most square dancers know and most square dance callers know, most of the movements that you teach only require 2 couples. And it also gives the caller the advantage of concentrating on 2 couples when using crossover movements and interactions, or what I sometimes call throwaway sequences. A throwaway sequence would be something like scoot back again. It does absolutely nothing to the formation, the arrangement, or the sequence, but what it does do is make that group of dancers interact with the other side of the square and make it feel like you're dancing. Another one is from a 2-face line, Ferris wheel, centers pass through. It's an interactive throwaway call that makes the dancers feel like they're interacting with the rest of the square. Disadvantages it has is it can easily lead to overflow or redundant choreography. It takes a lot of time and practice to call only to 2 couples without constantly repeating yourself. And the second thing is it's very susceptible to becoming a caller crutch. And once it becomes a crutch or your method of calling, it becomes very predictable when you're going to start trying to introduce new material. Okay. So that's the reality of sight calling. You'll be making it up on the fly. The preparation and practice you've been doing all this time are the tools that are in your toolbox, and all we're going to do is put another tool in that toolbox. Understanding the basics of movement mechanics and management, that's what brought you up to this point. Now we're adding something else to use that with. Don't worry that you can't do as much as someone else, because the only difference between you and them, and the only difference between you and Tony Oxendine or you and Wade Driver, is they've had a lot more time and a lot more practice using the tools that they have in their toolbox. And they have a few more specialty tools than you do. In time, you'll get your own toolbox and you can say, hey, Tony, look at my toolbox. It's bigger than yours. You can build a lot of things with only a few tools. That's what you got to remember. And you already have most of the important ones in your toolbox. That's formation management, such as partner line, corner box, pretty basic stuff, moving from one formation to another. You've got a simple single resolution technique. That's all you need to start, because you're going to find them jumping out at you once you force yourself to use that. And you probably have a couple of modules, a few zeros, a few equivalents. What we're going to use is use those tools to build that next tool, which is right here, isolated sight, something else going into your toolbox. Okay, so I'm going to go through essentially how it works, and then I'm going to demonstrate it using something that you can actually see on the screen, because this will make absolutely no sense to you until we actually put it all together. But the technique is basically this. The basic technique will start from a static square, but it can be modified to suit whatever requirements that you want. So what you do is, the first thing, as always, you select your key couples, normally couples number 1, couple number 4. Use a get in or a start sequence to set up a formation that you want to use to keep 4 dancers together. For example, the easiest one is head square through. That puts you in a corner box, and you take a snapshot of that image. The snapshot is basically you're fixing that picture in your mind. I keep those 4 dancers together. I've got the sides paired up on the outside. As soon as I get the sides paired up on the outside, I know that that square is resolved. Step 3 is you call your choreography that stresses your emphasis call, which moves the dancers through your dance, and yet you never separate those 4 couples or those 4 dancers. You can interact with the rest of the square using interactive movements and flip-flop sequences. You can change the snapshot with a half chicken plucker. So if I want to move it over to the other side, I call head square through 4. I take my snapshot. I've got my sides on the outside. I call around, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, pass through. I'm back in that snapshot. Then I'll call a half chicken plucker. Right and left through, pass through, trade by. I take another snapshot. I've still got the side couples on the outside, but now I'm doing a 2 couple dance, bringing them back to that same spot, and I change it back to my corner box with the other half of the chicken plucker. And that's what I do when I'm getting ready to resolve. Once I'm ready to resolve, I get back into that corner box. I can either say Alaman left or do a resolution. And I can do exactly the same thing with a partner line. The partner line, the only difference is the secret, you keep the key couple on the left. So, did that make sense to everybody? Probably not. Okay, so let's move this over to terminations and see what we got. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to set up a snapshot, and we'll go make it this way. Okay. Let's just assume for an instance this is head square through 4. Okay, so I've got my yellow couple on the outside. That's my snapshot. What I want to do is I want to only dance those 2 couples. So somebody give me an easy square dance movement that I want to focus.
Instant access to all of our best-selling fitness programs, 21-day fitness, Insanity, P90X, T25, and 5, plus hundreds of other workouts and classes.
Who is that? Hello?
We should probably unmute one at a time.
I've changed it to where they can unmute themselves, but when you're done saying something, please mute yourself again.
Can you guys hear me? I seem to have lost sound here.
I can hear you fine. This is Bob.
Hang on a second. Sure. Okay, can you see me okay?
Yep.
Let's try and go back to this. I don't know what happened there. I think that might have actually been me that was doing that. Okay, you should have the contamination screen up. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so I want to work that one couple, or sorry, those two couples there. And what I'm going to do is I've called head square through. This is my snapshot. So as soon as I get them back with the yellow on the outside, that will keep those dancers back to a corner box. So
Mel?
Yes?
You did a lead left.
Yeah, I know I did a lead left. It's just an example.
Okay.
If I call head square through, I have to hide all the other colors. I can't hide the colors. So we're just
Yep.
pretending this was a head square through.
Okay, got you.
Okay, the idea is you see the ones in color, I want to keep them together. So let's call swing through. Boys run. End the line. Touch 1/4. Walk and dodge. Partner trade. Your left. Down the line. Slide through. Okay, so I've done a few little movements there, but I've never really separated them, have I? That is just two couple calling. It's also isolated sight. But if I was to do that all night, the dancers would get very tired and very worried that, oh, we never see anybody else. We're not doing anything else. We're just moving around in a circle. So in addition to be able to move those two couples around, we also use movements that are interactive calls. But I want to keep those two couples together. So one interactive call would be, this little sequence here. Right and left through. Left. Ferris wheel. Pass through. Centered pass through. Okay, so you saw how they interacted with the rest of the square there? Sorry, there's my snapshot. Yellow's on the outside. They're left, and now we've got an interaction. It feels like they're dancing with the rest of the square, but they're not, because I'm just using that little interactive sequence to bring them back together. You can also, and there are a number of these things that you can do. For instance, swing through. Can you guys all see my cursor here? So I've got this same group together, but they're in a different formation. They're in ocean waves. I can do scoot back, hinge, scoot back, hinge, Scoot back. Okay. Just by doing that, I've now interacted the square across, interacting with other dancers. I've changed which direction they're dancing, back to work with themselves again, then back across with different people, and then that simple interactive Ferris wheel centers pass through to bring them back to my isolated site. And I have not separated that group of 4 dancers at all. Now the dancers are going to pick up on that very quickly. So there's a few things called flip-flops. A flip-flop is basically something that changes the dancers around from one position to another by interacting with the rest of the floor, but it doesn't change where the dancers are. So basically it's going to take this group of 4 and it's going to move them onto this side of the square. So the sides are going to be over here and the white couple is going to be in the middle. And some of those movements are 8 chain 4. Now there's a complete interaction with the rest of the square, but it doesn't do anything. If you're at plus, relay the deucey. Relay the deucey. Why does it not do relay the deucey? Anyway, relay the deucey is another one that does that.
You need to be in a wave, I guess.
Oh, that shouldn't have to be in a wave because it's a.
Mel had mentioned that it can't do it. Down the bottom, it gives you a note saying I can't do.
Just ignore those 2. That's the equivalent of do-si-do to a wave in square view. There we go. So this should bring my couples back to the other side, but it really looks like that square is interacting with each other, doesn't it? And then I can do all 8. That's another one that interacts the square, but doesn't really do anything. So now I go back to my 2 couple site, which I've still got these dancers all still together. Let's do a hinge. So we're changing the aspect. Scoot back. Boys run. Slide through. Right and left through. And I've got them right back to where I wanted them. I have not separated these 2 couples anywhere. Now I want them to dance with somebody else. The next step is a chicken plucker. So if we do a square through 3, trade button. Okay, what I want to do now is take a new snapshot. Let's make them red just for the sake of it. Okay, so I've moved the dancers around. I can do exactly the same thing on the other side. Swing through. Cast off 3/4. Dodge. Oops, let's undo that. Okay, so I can dance them around as two new couples, bring them back to that snapshot. And now what I want to do is I want to take them back to where they were with the other half of my chicken plucker, which I used, what did I use last time? Square through 3. Square through 3. And my square is resolved. I can do an Alaman left from here. Does everybody see how that works?
Yes.
Okay, so that's essentially the essence of what it is. So if we go back to here, there's a few choreographic tips that will help you on doing this kind of stuff. Now, the first one is a right and left through is a great direction changer for eliminating overflow. There's a big tendency to do things like touch a quarter, scoot back, boys run, pass the ocean, recycle. And suddenly you've got not so bad for the ladies there, but the boy is running around in circles. Now, there is a tendency for male callers to twist two of the ladies into the ground. There's also a tendency for lady callers to twist two of the boys into the ground. So it's important that you use something like a right and left through periodically, or a left hand action such as left touch a quarter, girls run, to set those lines, just to change that flow a little bit. Interactive movements are great for making it feel like the whole square is interacting with each other without actually doing anything. Things like scoot back, all 8 circulate. All 8 circulate twice, that's a flip-flop. Scoot back twice. Swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers, pass through. Things along that line that make the little sequence that happens that doesn't change who's dancing where. Another place, that's a little 0 module, and by default, any little true 0 module you can throw in there wherever you have a box, just to make it feel like they're interacting. There's crossovers and equivalents. The little flip-flop movements, such as 8 chain 4. A nice little flip-flop movement from a corner box is centers in, cast off 3/4, ends trade, star through, centers pass through. We can look at a number of these a little bit later. If you want to interact with the other half of the square and get them dancing with new people so it doesn't feel, because dancers will pick up that they've always got the same 4 together, that's where you do a half a chicken plucker. It's a good idea to cross your fingers so that you actually know that they've moved over to the other side. You do the half chicken plucker, cross your fingers, and then you do the whole thing all over again. You just make it up as you go, keep those 2 couples together, the new couples in your snapshot, put the sides on the outside or that couple back on the outside, and you know they're right where they're supposed to be. Do the other half of the chicken plucker and they're right back home again. And later on, you can learn things like rotation modules. These are things that don't really change who's dancing where. They don't change the orders, but unlike a flip-flop where it just, if you call head square through, you're looking at side walls. If you call 8 chain 4, you're looking at side walls. If you call all 8 circulate twice, you're looking at side walls. Rotation modules, what they do is they switch you looking at head walls, and they can rotate you clockwise or they can rotate you counterclockwise, but they don't actually change what's going on. And you can do things like, for instance, in the partner line, touch a quarter, circulate twice, cast off 3/4, right and left through, pass through, bend the line. That rotates counterclockwise left 1/4. It interacts the whole square, and it feels like you're dancing with everything, but you're still got that fixed in your mind that says, right, I can do that without actually changing who's dancing with who. I've still got my snapshot. There's, so it says here to go back to termination, so I'm going to go back to terminations. So if we look at those, let's just reset. We'll get our colors back. Blue, and we'll put our numbers Okay, so if I set up, for instance, a corner box,
You're not sharing your screen, Mel.
yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Be generous with your screen.
Okay, can you see it? Contamination's up?
Yes.
Okay, so if I get to a corner box, I keep losing my documents. Okay, so there's little flip-flops, for instance, centers in, cast off 3/4, ends trade, star through, pass through. Okay, see how that flip-flopped the square? Number 4 has gone from this side to this side, but they're still in the corner box. If I want to take it back, I can do another flip-flop, or I can just call 8 chain 4. And I've really done nothing with that square, have I? We know the half chicken plucker routines. So if I wanted to do half, I can do the same thing. I'm not going to walk you through that because I want to leave some time for discussion and practice. And then there's, as you progress, that's as far as you need to learn for isolated site at this point. But as you progress, you begin to learn different modules doing different things. And a lot of the time you'll see a corner box module or a partner line module. What they're designed to do is to rotate the square. And the reason you want to be able to rotate the square is so that you can set them up where you want to do an Alaman left and do a right and left grand to home, or do an Alaman left and a promenade with a short promenade. And you need to know how to do this. So if I wanted to rotate the square, say a quarter right from a corner box, I might do something like swing through, boys run, end the line, pass through, deal and deal. Okay, so I haven't changed this group of 4. I'm still using isolated site, keeping these dancers together. I can do a quick isolated site routine. Swing through, hinge, scoot back, boys run, partner trade, that was terrible, reverse, flutter, reel, and quarter. And so whatever it is, oh, that didn't work. Oh yeah, slide through recognition. Excuse my language. Don't worry about how terrible that piece of choreography was. Okay, but what I've essentially done is just a quick isolated site routine. Now, if I want to move the dancers around, I want to rotate it, say, back to where it was. I can do swing through in the top. Yeah, they're all still together. Recycle. Pass through. Now here's where I need to interact. Wheel and deal, zoom, and they're still together. Now, those are little things that you can see, for instance, from lines pass through, wheel and deal, zoom, centers pass through, is a nice little interaction that is very similar to the two-phase line Ferris wheel, centers pass through. And just to show you that it works the same thing with lines, I've got these couples together. Now, see the number 1 couple, that's my key couple. I want to make sure that they stay on the left. This is my snapshot. And as long as I put these guys on the left side of the facing line, I'm fine. And I can do rotations with them as well. Touch 1/4. This is what I had in this slide, I think. All circulate. All 8 circulate. Twice. Does that work? Yes. Pass off 3/4. Right. Through. Pass through. You see, they're still working together, but they're interacting with the whole rest of the square. And all I've done is take it from a line facing this way to a line facing that way. So let's put this back here. So with practice, what happens is multiple snapshots become possible. They give you the increased flexibility by moving and changing back and forth. Two-couple calling is an easy method of choreographic manipulation. It's a fantastic teaching and reviewing tool. Many callers, including myself, use it at the start of each evening because it's a great way of getting everybody on the floor. And when people are coming in, if your dance starts at 7 o'clock, you can get them up in a Sicilian circle at 7, start working them using two-couple choreography, interacting with each other. You don't have to worry about even trying to resolve because you're focused on dancing the two-couple movements. And then you just call pass through, move to the next, and you've got the next. And if another couple comes in a little bit late, they just get on the floor somewhere, pick a spot and join in. Somebody will come to them. And it's a great way of reviewing, great way of teaching, and a great way of practicing this two-couple calling technique. But like all tools, you can't build a house with one tool alone. You need to have all of the rest of your tools, your definitions, that's a tool. Your movement mechanics, what the moves do, that's a tool. Understanding your formation recognition and your formation management, moving to one to the other, that's a tool. Basic modules, that's a tool. All we've done is add one more tool into your toolbox. Okay. Now, isolated sight is a very, very powerful tool when it's used correctly, but it is only that, just one more tool. Other callers will tell you what tools they have. They can even show you how to use those specific tools. Some callers use different resolution techniques than I do. That's a tool. If they're going to share that with you, take it, write it down, learn it, or set it aside until you learn to practice with it. Some will even have you train and supervise you to use those tools. But ultimately, it's up to you how good you get and what you want to build. The essence is, remember, it's always about the dancers. When they succeed and they win and they're entertained and they have fun and they want to come back, then you win. That only works one way. You having fun, you being entertained, you succeeding, and the dancers not, does not work. It doesn't work at all. Okay. So last week I called spin the top. How I would use this. Okay. I called spin the top last week when Steve Turner was calling down at his club and he asked me to call. I did spin the top. Great. That was fine. And he said, you know what, Mel? You did really good last week. I'm calling tomorrow night. I hope to see you there. I go to the dance. Well, I didn't expect him to ask me to call, but Steve Turner, being Steve Turner, says, hey, Mel, I want you to get up and call a tip tonight. I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't do anything. I go, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I know Steve has the song Ghost Riders in the Sky in his machine. I didn't even bring that. I did happen to leave my mic in the car, so that was great. I can do that song. I can get up and I can do isolated sight. I want to focus on, say, recycle as my focus movement. Well, I can do that and say, right, what am I going to do? What happened there? Do I decline? No. I think I saved over my presentation. Do I decline? No, I don't. I get up there and I say, right, what is it that I want to do? Where is this thing? Reset. I know my singing call: head square through 4, swing through, scoot back, ladies trade, recycle, sweep a quarter, square through 3, swing your corner, promenade. Yeah, I've got that. I know that song. No panic. I've got butterflies, but I'm not going to panic. I'm going to relax. I'm going to keep it simple and interesting, just using the moving techniques that we've learned. I get up there and I'm going to say, right, what am I going to do here? Last week we talked about activating the square. So let's activate the square. Heads past the ocean. Head, ladies, trade. Recycle. Heads, recycle. Heads, slide through. Okay, so all I've done is a two-couple technique using the heads. And then I can repeat exactly the same thing for the sides. I've activated the squares. Then I want to start doing isolated sites. So I use a get in. So let's just keep it simple. I get a get into my corner box. My focus is recycle, so I want to use recycle. So watch these four dancers here. So I could do touch 1/4, scoot back, hinge, ladies trade, recycle. Okay, I'm just moving those four dancers. Now remember, at this point, I'm only moving around. They're going around in circles. I need to change that. Oh, wait a minute. How do I change that? What's a good change of direction? Right and left through, and there's my snapshot. Okay, I can do an interactive. I could have done a right and left through, veer left Ferris wheel. In fact, let's do that. Veer left, Ferris wheel. Center's pass through. I've now interacted with the rest of the square, but I'm not in my snapshot position. But I do know my singing call. So I want to do do-si-do to a wave. Because Taminations doesn't do do-si-do to an ocean wave. Okay. Action. Ladies trade. Recycle. That's out of my singing call. I've now used the ending of my singing call, but I've never separated these four dancers. I took the snapshot. I had my sides on the outside, my number one man there. Once I got that back into that position, that square is resolved. I can call an Alaman left from here. Okay. I also did, I can do a half chicken plucker from here. Pass through, trade by, and then I can use what I used from last week, past the ocean, spin the top again, recycle, whoops, sorry, undo. Okay. And then I do my half. And I'm back to my corner box. All I did in there was I just moved the right and left through in a different, right and left through equivalent, moved it to a different spot.
Mel, you can just touch if you want to make a wave.
Sorry?
In Taminations, you can just type in touch if you want to step to a wave without the rest of it. Press up.
I have tried that a dozen times and it never worked before. Okay, so what we have now, let's go back to the screenshot here. What we got here? Stop share. Okay, so what we have now is a whole series of sequences that we can dance without having to rehearse, without having to remember anything. What we've called was heads past the ocean, ladies trade, recycle, slide through, heads back away, sides right and left through, and a half sachet past the ocean, center boys trade, swing through, recycle, sweep a quarter, and back away. We're back in a static square. Head square through 4, touch a quarter, scoot back, hinge, ladies trade, recycle. Right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel, centers pass through, pass the ocean, spin the top again, recycle, and sweep a quarter more, Alaman left. No, we didn't. We called pass through trade by Alaman left. Now, it's not a bad looking sequence, but there's no way in hell I can remember that, and I don't think there's any way in hell anybody else can remember that. The beauty of isolated sight is what we've done is we've done head couples. Do a quick little 2-couple movement. Back away, you're home. Side couples. Do a quick little 2-couple movement using recycle. Back away, you're home. Head, square through 4. Get to a corner box. Do some 2-couple movements. Let's interact with the rest of the square. Scoot back twice. Do a little more 2-couple movements. Get back to the corner box. We can call Alaman left. Then we can do side square through 4 and do it with different people using the heads on the outside. And we can call heads past the ocean and extend. I'm now done half chicken plucker by getting into across the street blocks. I can do some little 2-couple choreography there and finish it off with half chicken plucker. That brings me back to the sides on the outside, my original snapshot position. Do a quick little isolated sight, 2-couple calling, Alaman left. I will run out of ideas and little tiny short 2-couple sequences interacting the squares, dancing only 2 couples together. I'm changing the 2 couples, but I'm keeping them together. Heads lead to the right and circle to a line. Boom, there's my 2 couples closest to me. As long as I put them back there, that square is resolved. Head square through 4. As long as I've got those sides together and those 4 dancers together, that square is resolved. I never have to veer away from anything with what I want to do. Now, on the handout that comes with this, there's a couple of exercises that'll go with it, and just things that you can take home and practice. But that is essentially it. So that's the whole essence of what I wanted to talk about with isolated sight. There are some handouts and the PowerPoint presentation. I'll make those available to everybody. Sorry, Chris, I just noticed here it says we can't see the screen. Did I lose something there?
That was when they were looking for the screen and you weren't ready to show it yet.
Ah, okay, and now, Jay Lewis, do you know you can set the meeting to have everybody muted? No, I did not know that. I'm still used to it. Regina, no, there was no workbook material from today. That was just a comment that was being made earlier to some of the other dancers. So I think that's all the questions, unless you got some, Mark. Did anybody send any questions to you?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so let's open it up and you guys can unmute yourself if you have any questions, by all means. It couldn't have been that good.
So how do you distribute the handouts?
Well, you can email me, or I'm just posting them in here at the moment. So
I don't know how to get them out of there though.
Highlight it in the chat. You highlight it and then right click and copy and then paste it into a web browser.
Excellent. Thank you.
Actually, sometimes depending on how he puts it in there, you just have to click on the word download and it will automatically download to your computer.
yeah, I've been finding that because I save a lot of these things as docx, that it doesn't want to save as, or it doesn't want to post as a,
Yeah, docx
doesn't want to load.
PDF's universal standard.
Okay, so there's the
Okay.
PDF file, or my speaking notes, if you will. And the PowerPoint presentation is loading now.
Oh, by the way, Mel, when do you want me to stop recording? Keep recording or stop?
It's up to you. Like I said. So does anybody have any questions or anybody want to play with that? I can put Taminations back up on the screen and you can play with it as you wish.
You there, Mel?
Yeah, I'm here, Alan.
Would you like to make a comment on the idea of rubber banding in relation to 2-couple?
Yeah, go ahead.
The idea of moving your 4 people around, you could use circulates, and the idea is that you're just keeping an idea on an eye on them, so they're in the same circle. You've got a rubber band around them, if you like.
Yep.
So you can move them around, and even if you bend the line and they're in the line and you pass through, wheel and deal, you know you can do the double pass through to take them with you. So you're sort of moving them around, but keeping a rubber band around them, and still really doing your 2 couple side. Is that a valid comment?
It is. When you're keeping the couples together, looking at them and flowing them around, rubber banding is a great way of moving around from quadrant to quadrant to quadrant to interact. For instance, if I do right and left through, veer left, I'm in a 2-face line. Couples circulate twice. That rubber band never really changes. Wheel and deal, it doesn't change. And even if you do a sequence like Ferris wheel pass through, you still have the rubber band. That's a bit of an interactive. When you're moving them around and you want to keep them together, knowing rubber banding is one thing, but it tends to make them seem like you're not dancing with other people as much as Alan said, circulates are a good example. Like couples circulate will keep them together. All 8 circulate keeps them together. All 8 circulate twice, keeps them together, but it feels like they're mixing and matching with the rest of the square. All you're doing is just lifting the rubber band so the others can duck under it, so to speak.
Mel?
It still keeps them together. Learning what those flip-flops are is a good way of adding in. I'm one of those weird callers that I say, although a flip-flop is a rubber band technique, I like to keep them separate because when I say rubber banding, I will do couples circulate twice. Or
Mel, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I've never heard this rubber banding. What are you guys referring to?
Okay, it's basically you're tying a rope around the 4 couples and you're keeping them inside that rope as they move around the square.
Okay. Okay.
Fair enough way of saying it, Alan?
That's a reasonable way of saying it, yes. A good example you were using there, Mel, where you swing through, boys run and the couples circulate.
Yeah.
They're following each other around the square. If you bend the line at that point in time, you've still got them in a line, pass through, wheel and deal. You know you've still got them in a box of 4 now on the bottom side of the square, and then you do a double pass through and the leaders trade, and of course you've got them back together in a box of 4 again. So it's really just keeping in your mind where your 4 dancers are as you move them, yes.
Hang on a second, Alan.
Do you have terminations up or something? Because
I'm
can't.
just putting it up right now so we can go through that. So bear with me for 1 second. I've got to.
Okay, Mel?
Yep.
There's still no file showing up in the chat.
No. Are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It says they're loaded there. It says sent oh, that's because I sent them to Jay Lewis privately. Sorry about that. If I change that to everybody, that might work. Sorry, I had a private message there and it defaults to whoever sends me a private message. So 1 second here.
Okay, now they're there.
I've got to.
And they do say download.
Share screen and go to terminations. Okay, so I'm going to change this a bit here. So let's make number 1 white, number 2 red, number 3 blue. And we're going to go, sorry, black and black. Okay, so for sake of argument, let's all just pretend that this is a corner box. Okay? So what Alan's talking about, rubber banding, do you see this group of 4?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
We want to keep that rubber band around those dancers. So if I remember your sequence correctly, Alan, you said swing through. See, the rubber band is still around those dancers. They're all still together. Boys run. It's still around them. We'll circulate. It's still around them. Bend the line. Bend the line. See how that rubber band is still around them? Now, you said pass through. This is the case. We're going to keep the rubber band around and we're just going to lift it up so the others can go through. It's still around them. It's still around them. Double pass through. We're lifting that rubber band up again, but those 4 dancers are still together. Doesn't work. Leaders trade. We've got that. We're back to our snapshot position we just rotated, but we've never separated those 4 dancers. That's using your circulates and your movements to keep those 4 together. That's slightly different. A lot of people call 8-chain 4s and relay the deuces and all 8 circulates rubber banding. I don't. I call it interactives, because you'll notice here if I call, well, let's call relay the deuce.
Mel, you have a question.
Yes.
There's a question in chat. How would that work as a gimmick in a dance?
As a gimmick in a dance, it works actually quite well. When I graduated my mainstream class in 1981, rubber banding was a how did you draw that line on there? Rubber banding was a common graduation fun thing. And what would happen is they'd put a rubber band around the head couples and say you'd have to keep them together, or they call heads square through, and then the club dancers would come and put a string or a rope around the 2 groups of 4. The caller would have to call trying to keep those 4 always together. As a gimmick, as a little fun thing, yes, you can have fun with it. It's not something I would recommend doing as all the time. As a calling technique, however, it's a very, very powerful calling technique. It allows you to move the dancers. It allows you to keep them. I think Daryl Clendenin wrote an article called Beads on a String. I think that might have been his, or it might have been somebody else's, which is essentially that principle of rubber banding. It's keeping those 4 dancers together and moving them around. They can be in a wave. It can rotate around. You can move the dancers. If you have the end girls circulate once, well, they're still in that rubber band because you've got the 2 boys together. They're just in different organizations. It's a matter of moving them around the square. Does that answer your question? Sorry, I don't have a chat window open, so I can't tell if you're saying something in chat.
They said yes, thank you.
Okay. Now, let's do this again. Bloody hell. Okay. Okay, so for sake of argument, we're just going to say, pretend that's our corner box. I've just done a head square through. That's my snapshot. Now you'll notice the difference in rubber banding, keeping the 4 dancers together, as opposed to here, The dancers are getting quite separated with their rubber band. They're following each other around. They're following each other around, but that rubber band is not rubber banding. Those are flip-flops or interactive flip-flops. They just change the dimension of the square, moving it from one side to the other. Okay, that's not quite rubber banding, but a lot of people call it the same thing because it takes them apart and brings them back together. But that's not exactly what I was talking about. But that rubber banding in itself, keeping the four together using circulates, and as Alan said, as long as you keep them together, you can move them in and out of any sequence pretty much, and always be very, very close to resolve the square. As soon as I put that yellow couple on the outside, the square is resolved. Any other questions?
You there, Mel?
Yep.
You were moving them around great. One thing you didn't say, but is that you could, you said all eight circulate, but you can do a single hinge and then do the all eight circulate from that different man, girl wave rather than doing it from your standard wave of boys. Yeah, so it that then changes the feel of it quite a bit.
Whereas the all eight circulate, that rubber band is now broken. I want to put it back together. Do it twice. So were there any questions on isolated site? Now, okay, it is essentially a two-couple people mover technique, but it is so much more than that. Don't worry about trying to learn all of that technique at once. Start with the two couples, moving two couples around, get them back to where they started. Doing two couple routines is a great way of doing your Sicilian circle, your reviews. After a while, then you learn your interactives, your flip-flops, 8-chain fours, etc. Your scoot back twice or your scoot back once. Then you can learn the rest of it. Your chicken plucker, take another snapshot, do it again. Then you can learn your rotations. But don't try and do it all at once. One step at a time and away you go. So we've got Taminations open here. The floor is open if anybody wants to try and look at anything or anybody wants to look at anything specific. I notice we've got a lot of very experienced callers here. We've got Daryl Clendenin, Alan, Steve Turner was here.
Mel?
Yeah.
I got to step away for a minute. You're in charge.
Thank you. So, anybody else have any comments they want to add or any points they want to make?
I think it just review.
It is. Well, I've got Taminations on the screen if anybody wants to try this.
And honestly, when we get back to real people, that helps.
Yeah, it does help, but it's also good to start learning just your couple mover techniques and seeing what it is. The nice thing about Taminations or these other programs is you can actually black out other dancers and worry about who is with who. I'm not worried about if it's a corner box. I just want to worry about getting them. So you notice I said heads lead left.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that that is not a corner box, okay? We all know that that square is not resolved. But if we pretend that's a corner box, now I can do two couple moving techniques. So, I don't know, let's start at the top right. Eva, you there?
Yes, I am. I'm listening.
Okay, can you see my screen there?
I can.
Okay, so Steve Turner, being the vile, evil, mean guy that he is, you've walked into his hall from North Carolina, I think it is.
It is, yep.
And Steve says, oh, we've got a guest caller here from North Carolina that's going to do this next tip. And he wants you to call. And you just happen to have, I don't know, whatever your favorite singing call is, and it has a movement of flutter wheel. So I want you to move those two couples around using a flutter wheel. The yellow,
Right.
and just move them around, get the yellow back to the outside. Please don't make it complex because I don't know terminations that well.
All right. Touch a quarter. Scoot back. The men run. Reverse flutter wheel.
Oops, oops. Yeah.
Reverse
R.
flutter wheel.
Oh, but you really wanted flutter wheel, but then I should have, I
Doesn't
could
matter.
sweep a quarter more to get them back.
Exactly. That's all you needed. Yeah.
Reverse flutter and sweep a quarter.
Right.
Okay, so we've done some isolated sight.
Great.
Our next technique is we want to do the same thing, but on the other side of the square. So let's boom and boom. Okay, so Carol, you're next. I need to move number one couple over to the other side with the reds on the outside. You're going to have to unmute, Carol.
That's it. You mean you want the white ones on the other side in the middle?
I want the white ones and the black ones in the middle to change places.
Okay. Right and left through.
Yep.
Pass through. Trade by.
Okay. Half a chicken plucker. Perfect. Now give me an isolated sight sequence using, I don't know, spin the top.
Swing through. Spin the top. Right and left through. Star through. Right and left through.
Awesome.
Perfect. Okay, now I've danced them a little bit. Steve, you seem to be the next one. I want to interact with the rest of the square without actually doing anything. I just need an
Can you hear me?
interaction. Yep.
Yep. We've done a right and left through, so veer to the left.
Yep.
Ferris wheel.
There's an interaction.
Right and left through. I'm still looking at that red couple.
Yep.
Square through three.
Nice.
That will give that will give the left hand ready. So we just got to be aware of that.
Okay, so all I've done is interact with the others, not doing anything, and he did that by using a little two couple movement in the middle to get me facing the outside. Now I've got to get those back on the outside.
Circle. Oh, can we do a circle 4 halfway? Probably not with terminations.
I don't know. No.
Slide through twice.
There we go. Okay, who's next? Masako. Okay, so what we have done so far is we've got to our corner box. We've done a 2 couple mover. We've moved to the other side. We've taken another picture. This is our snapshot. So we want the red on the outside. We want the white on the inside, but we want the whole thing to move. I keep pointing to my screen and I just realized you can't see my fingers. So we want this group here to be over on this side and the black to be over on this side. So I need to get them changed over.
I forgot the red couple. No, the white couple is the head couples. Or am I looking at the corner box?
Yeah, we're in across the street box. What I want is this box. I want red on the outside over here and white on the outside over here.
Okay.
So what we need is a flip-flop.
Slide through. Past the ocean. All 8 circulate.
How many?
Oh, no.
Twice.
How many times?
All 8, oh, sorry, 2 times.
And
girls trade.
Okay. Recycle.
Recycle.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yay.
Okay. So now I've done an interactive. I've done a flip-flop. I've done a crossover with a half a chicken plucker. I want to resolve my square. So what's the next thing I have to do? Anita, I think you're next. Have I done you already?
I don't think so.
People keep shifting on my line, so I'm not sure who's next. So if I repeat, so Anita, I want to get back to my yellow. So hang on a second. No.
Sorry, I'm learning Zoom too, so.
Okay. What we need to do is we need to do our other half of a chicken plucker or some way to get the dancers together to get those white with the yellow and yellow on the outside.
So right and left through.
Yep.
Pass through and trade by.
Now they're on the other side. Is that square resolved?
Nope.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I
Absolutely.
was talking about dinner when you first said something. So right and
worry.
left through.
No, you're fixed. You're all done.
Good, done.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely perfect. Okay. And that's all it is. And if we wanted to look at that, the whole sequence, okay, that's our head square through 4. Look at the couples. Great. No problem. They're dancing. They're flowing. I'm back to my corner box. I'm going to change around. I've moved these guys over to this side. So I'm now working this side. My snapshot has the white couple in the middle, or I can even work on this side and have the yellow couple on the outside. It's up to you how you want to do it. Doing an interactive with the outside dancers, haven't changed anything. Square through 3 brings me back. I still haven't changed anything. Now I want to flip-flop the square, make it feel like they're interacting all over the place. Ladies trade, recycle. Great. Now I want to do my other half of a chicken plucker. Bang, bang, bang. Alaman left, right and left grand, and everybody's home.
I have a general question. It's not about isolated site though.
Yep, go ahead.
When is a sequence too short and when is a sequence too long?
Excellent question.
Thank you. Yeah.
A singing call sequence is 64 beats of music. Okay, you can fit 7 of those into a record or into a usual music recording. If your sequence is more than 64 beats of music, chances are it's getting a little bit on the long side.
Okay.
Most of the time, your sequences are little modules and snippets. So you may hear a sequence that goes, heads past the ocean, extend, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers pass through, square through 3, trade by. Okay, I'm now in a corner box. I've done exactly the same thing as a square through, but all I've done is go to across the street box and flip it back over with a half chicken plucker.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sequence. From there I can do do, si, do, make a wave, ladies trade, recycle, slide through. Oh, great, there's a sequence. Right and left through, pass through, trade by. There's a half chicken plucker. That's a sequence. And then I can do a get out from across the street box. That's a sequence. All of that strung together might take more than 64 beats of music. If the dancers are dancing it and they're happy and they're comfortable dancing it, let them go. Let them have fun with it.
Okay.
Remember, you're doing it for them. So if you get up there and you call, I don't know, let's pick something here. Heads past the ocean, ladies trade, slide through, back away, sides right and left through, half sachet past the ocean, boys in the middle, trade, swing through, recycle, sweep a quarter more, back away in the head, square through 4, touch a quarter, scoot back, hinge, ladies trade, recycle, right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel, centers pass through, everybody past the ocean, spin the top twice, recycle, do the right and left through, pass through, trade by, swing through, girls circulate, boys trade, boys run, bend the line, pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first couple go left, next couple go right, touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, boys run around a girl, I'm in a corner box now, and I'm still going. All I've done is I've strung a whole bunch of little modules together.
Exactly.
The dancers are going to get bored.
Okay.
Or they're going to get frustrated.
Yes.
What they need is about halfway through that, they want something that's going to make them go, wow. And at any point in there, I could have done an Alaman left, a right and left grand. I could have got to that partner line and said, circle to the left. Or a couple of times I could have said, you're home, instead of just carrying on with the sequence. Give the dancers a break. Give the dancers a reward. If you're calling a sequence and you go through the motions of getting them moving and getting them active and getting them interactive, give them that, and here's your corner, Alaman left, and away you go to the right and left grand, and bang.
Yeah.
Short promenade, and let's go sides. Even that 4-beat promenade short in a patter call is a reward. Give it to the dancers.
Phil.
And the other thing is, when you give that to the dancers, they get home, it gives you a chance to stop and say, right, they're home. I can start over again. I can forget everything I've just done. And now I can start with another sequence. So it's a balancing act.
Yes.
But knowing how long a sequence or how short a sequence should be is a judgment call that you as a caller have to make based on what your dancers are reacting.
Okay.
I've seen callers go in Germany, they have a dance called the Stuttgart Marathon. It's 10 hours of dancing. The patter call is 45 minutes long, followed by a 5-minute singing call and a 10-minute break.
More like the Autobahn.
And some of those sequences are very, very, very long.
Wow. Okay. Good to know.
At least it used to be that way. I don't know what it's like anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Thank
Who
you.
wants to try again? Who's next? I've got Yolanda.
I'm gonna run. I have to run. Thanks.
Bye-bye, Nikki. Okay. As I said before, if you didn't get the handouts from the chat, you can just send me an email. My email's there. Most of you have it by now, and I can send it to you by email. But if you'd like to carry on and play with this a bit, I'm here. Who'd like to give it a try? I had Yolanda next.
Yeah. I'm very new at this.
Okay, so let's set you up. Oops. Okay, so if we're doing two couple isolated site, all I want you to do is to move those two couples, the yellow and the white. This is, you've called your movement, head square through, and then this is, you'll hear me when I'm doing a call, I'll go snapshot. And I do this to callers all the time. They're calling isolated, and I say, right, take a picture of that on the floor. So just the yellow and the white. I want you to move the dancers around to get them back into that position. Okay? Only dance the two couples.
But we're going to keep them on that same section?
Yep, just dance with two couples. Here, I'll even make it easier for you.
Oh, okay. How did you do that, by the way? How did you get it to do that?
I just hit facing couples. There you go. So give me some two couple stuff.
So right and left through.
Yep.
Do side do, which would be touch a quarter. Touch a quarter again.
Can't do another touch a quarter. You can do a hinge, but
oh, okay.
That would not be good choreography.
Okay. Ladies, you turn back. Flutter wheel. Reverse flutter wheel.
Remember, I want the white down at the bottom of the screen and yellow at the top of the screen.
I just went blank.
And you want to get these white couple down here,
yeah,
and facing couples. Doesn't matter if you use 10 movements.
Right and left through.
Yep.
You want the yellows on the top, right?
Yeah, they're on the top now. Now we just got to make them into facing couples.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't get that part.
Like that.
Oh, okay.
That's where you started. That's where you want to come back to.
Okay.
Okay. Michael. Let's go here. We'll go. All right. So she's moved them around. She's got them to here. Now I want to work with the others on the other side. I want to put the whites with the red.
Okay. Right and left through?
Yep.
Pass through. Craig by. You'll stand by.
Okay, so that's a half a chicken plucker. Now I want you to do something using the movement recycle. That's snapshot. You got to get them right back to there, but you got to use recycle in your routine.
Swing through.
Yep.
Recycle.
Half sachet.
You know. Box to net. And a right and left through.
Okay. Perfect. Mark. Need to interact. So I need something that's going to make these dancers all interact with each other, but not really do anything. A flip flop.
Do-si-do to a wave.
Okay.
Boys run. Ferris wheel.
Yep.
Centers pass through.
Yeah, I've interacted. I've brought them together. Now I've got to get them back with the reds on the outside. And we need to use a recycle in here.
Reverse. Oh, we got it. I forgot about the recycle. Do-si-do to a wave. Swing through.
Hang on. That didn't work. Why is it doing a veer left?
And you've got 2 do-si-dos.
It's doing a veer left there for some reason. Okay, what did you want to do after the do-si-do?
Oh, I was saying do-si-do to a wave.
Yeah, what did you want to do after that?
Swing through.
Okay, you don't need a do-si-do for that. That's fine.
At the time, I didn't know that.
That's okay.
Swing through again. Recycle.
Is. Okay, so I've done that. Now I've got to resolve this square. So I know I've got my fingers crossed because I've crossed them over. But we want to make sure that we have a good interaction. So let's just throw one of these in there. Just so that they feel like they're all dancing with each other. Now what I want to do is I want to get back to my original snapshot, which is white in the middle facing yellow on the outside. Next would be Rich.
Pass through.
Yep.
Trade by.
Yep.
Right and left through.
Beautiful. Just as a note, notice on the chicken plucker, it's usually right and left through, pass through, trade by. One of the things about right and left through in sequences is in most cases, it can be dropped in just about anywhere. You can mix and match it pretty much anywhere in a group sequence like that. It's a very, very flexible movement and makes a great direction change. Okay, so now give me a 2-couple isolated sight to an Alaman left. This is your Alaman left position, Rich. And you got to use recycle, remember?
Okay. Swing through.
Yep.
Recycle.
Recycle.
Girls are leading.
Good.
Let's see. Half sachet.
Really want to do that after a recycle?
No.
No, that's bad flow.
I'm not really, just so everybody knows, I'm not really worried about flow and sequencing. It's just the idea of moving the 2 couples. But sometimes when something's really glaring, I will point it out. So what do you want to do?
Boxinette.
Yeah.
Uh,
The yellow on the outside.
Okay. Swing through. That's still the girls leading. Boys trade.
There we go.
Recycle.
We got the girls leading. That's all right.
Oh, that's still the girls leading. Touch a quarter.
Got a lot of right-hand flow going on here. You need something that doesn't have a right turn on it.
Walk and dodge.
There you go.
Partner trade. Slide through.
Use Steve's trick. Or
let's see. Swing through in the center.
okay, now what's happened here?
Broke the rubber band.
I broke
We're no
the
longer an
band.
isolated site. Okay, so we were here.
Star through.
Hang on. Your flows, when you have a lot of right-hand flows, if you really, really struggle to pair dancers up with star throughs and then changing them with swing throughs, a flutter wheel and a reverse flutter wheel are ideal movements, especially if you want to change an aspect on a floor. You change the pairing and you change the aspect with flutter wheel, sweep a quarter, or reverse flutter and sweep a quarter more. Great little tools to your toolbox, those two movements. Okay. That's not bad. You had the sequence going with the exception of right at the end, and I think what you were trying to do is resolve the square.
I was trying to match up for the recycle, and that was where I was having problems.
And any ocean wave, you can do your recycle from. I wasn't worried about boys leading or girls leading. The idea is just to keep two couples together. Okay? So, who's next? We've gone across the whole top row, bottom. So we'll go. Not that you need this, Alan, but it's your turn. So.
Oh.
Yeah, here's where you can put your rubber banding if you want. Just don't get too wild because contamination's got to be able to do it.
Swing through.
They're still together. Yep.
Boys run.
Yep.
Bend the line.
Yep.
Pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers pass through.
And that's an interactive that changes a rotation.
To the right and left through.
What he's done is he's rotated the square 1/4 to the right or 1/4 clockwise, but he's kept the group together using that interactive. That's a great way of using the wheel and deal there.
Right and left through.
Now we need a recycle in here.
Oh, you want recycle, do you?
Yeah, that's our focus movement.
Oh, just undo the right and left through them.
We can call an Alaman left here, but we need a little two couples.
I'm going to do it past the ocean, Mel.
Okay. Into a big long tidal wave. It feels different, but they're all still together.
Recycle, that gives you your recycle. Pass through. Bend the line. Pass through with a wheel and deal.
Everybody see what he's doing with the rubber banding? He's moved around, but he's kept these dancers together all the time.
Centers wheel around.
And we're ready for an Alaman left. Beautiful.
And if you want to take, if you want to take them back to where we started.
No, not worried about that. The idea is just to keep those four together. Yellow's on the outside. We're doing two couple sight. So Suzanne, I think you're next.
Okay.
Hang on. Okay. Now we want to do a crossover. We want to take this to the other side of the square and set up a new snapshot to work with different dancers. So
okay.
We want the reds on the outside, white in the middle.
Okay. And I'm trying to do something other than chicken plucker, so let me think for a second. I was all set to do the recycle part. I had it all set.
Oh, good. Then do a chicken plucker and do your routine. That's all you need to do.
All right. Well, then we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and do that. Right and left through.
Helen, I need to go full screen and if they...
Pass through, trade by.
And now isolated sight. Move them around.
Swing through. Boys run.
Still together, good.
Half tag.
Excellent. Now we're starting to think.
Scoot back.
Even though they're still together, this will feel to the dancers like a completely different setup, because now they can recognize this ocean wave. This person's moved across in the center. Even though these four are still together, it feels very different. And they can see interaction. Go ahead.
Hinge. And I would probably say with the right hand, hinge.
Yep.
Centers trade. Recycle.
Perfect. Very nicely done. Well done. And, oh, okay. This is probably going to be harder on you than anybody, Brad. Because, where are we here?
Go, Brad.
Because it's hard to step back from where you're using. You're going to see about 3,000 resolutions there. But we need you to cross them back, do an interactive, and then a two-couple resolve.
Very good. Right and left through.
If I can get determinations here. Yep.
Veer left. Ferris wheel.
I want to get the yellow on the inside and or yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
And let's have the center square through 3, but I still owe you a recycle. I know that.
So we've now got them into our snapshot position, and we've got a left hand free.
Pass the ocean.
Good call.
Recycle. Reverse flutter wheel.
Nice direction change.
And slide through to our element.
Slide through, and we are resolved. Okay, so we'll go from there to there. Who's next? Koichi, did you want to take a track of this?
Difficult for me.
Yep. So I'll put you in a corner box. Okay. So you have to move these two couples. I just want you to dance with those two couples only and use a recycle.
Recycle. Okay. Swing through. Recycle. Is it okay?
No, you've got them all half sashayed. We need the boy on the left, girl on the right.
Oh, okay. Pass through. Thread by.
You want to keep them together.
Okay, okay. Okay. Reverse flutter.
Sorry? Reverse flutter?
Yeah, reverse flutter wheel. Slide through.
Okay, they're normal couples.
Yeah. Carbon neutral.
Okay.
Is it no box?
You want, they're in the right box. You just want the yellow on the outside here and the white in the middle. You want to go back to your original
Okay.
snapshot.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Start through. And wheel and deal.
Okay, this is an interaction, so it has to be followed with a centers pass through.
Yeah, centers pass through.
Okay. I want the yellows on the outside.
And right and left through.
Perfect. Okay, so we've used our recycle in there, and we're back, and we've actually rotated the orientation of the square. And that's what you want to do. And we're still only dancing 2 couples, but the whole square is interacting. Well done. Jay Lewis. Janet?
Yes.
Your turn. I want to do a cross, bring him to the other side. So that would be, all right, red. And then do 2 couple sight. So when I say snapshot, you want to bring him to the other side to across the street box.
Square through 3.
Yep.
Trade by.
Snapshot, 2 couple routine using recycle.
Flutter wheel. Sweep a quarter.
That all has to go in the same line in Dominations.
Star through.
Yeah. Still waiting for my recycle.
Oh, I don't like recycle.
Yeah, but these particular dancers do.
Okay, well then take out that star through.
No worries.
Past the ocean.
Yep.
Boys trade. Recycle.
Perfect. Okay. And Marie. So, Marie, you're going to take them back to their original, which is yellow on the outside, white on the inside. And give me a 2 couple routine using recycle.
Can't hear me.
Can now.
You can. Veer to the left.
Yep.
Couple circulate.
Excellent. You're using Allen's rubber banding. Now I've got them paired.
Wheel and deal.
Yep.
And you're waiting for recycle, aren't you? Step to a wave.
What are you going to do after the wave?
Recycle.
Okay, so for some reason it doesn't like touch today. Okay, so let's do a touch quarter. There, we've done touch to a wave.
Recycle. Star through.
Those boys are going to pass out now because we've done nothing but right-hand flows.
Oh, sorry. Slide through.
And there's another right-hand flow.
Veer to the left. Ladies trade. Wheel and deal. And a right and left through.
Good. And we can do an Alaman left from here. Who's next? Larry, you're next. Let's undo all that. Where's that? Let's make it just a little more interesting. Okay, so Larry, here's your snapshot. Number 1 man, number 3 a girl, couple number 4 on the outside, a corner box. You want to keep these 4 together and give me a 2-couple dance routine using walk and dodge. You still with us, Larry? Okay, we seem to have lost. Linda, care to have a crack?
Oh, you had to, didn't you?
No. All you got to do is keep these 4 dancers together. It's exactly the same thing, but you want to keep the yellows. That's your snapshot position. Bring them back to that position and they'll be resolved.
And you're doing it with a recycle.
No, we're doing it with a walk and dodge now.
Oh, now, oh, bloody lost me. Okay, touch a quarter.
Yep.
And do a walk and dodge.
Yep.
Okay, let's do a partner trade.
Yep.
And I've got to bring that back over. Can I do, okay, so I do 2 ladies chain. A flutter wheel. Sweep a quarter. Sorry. Do a right and left through.
Who's left? Ray, I think you're the last one.
Story of my life.
I want you to do a crossover. Sorry, yeah, an interaction, I should say. And move them all the way over, flip-flop the square, and then do a crossover to a cross the street box.
I had to write this stuff down. So, so let me say crossover. Can I just simply do like a pass-through trade by? And rather me go to them, have them come to me?
No, I want you to do a flip-flop.
Okay, let's see. Veer to the left.
Basically, I want you to either rotate the square or move it so that the number 4 couple is over here. And these guys.
Veer to the left.
Yep.
Couple circulate.
Yep.
Ferris wheel.
Okay.
Center square through 3.
Beautiful.
And my next goal is?
Okay, now you can do an Alaman left here, but
Yep.
now we've got to do some isolated sight, and your movement is, what's a good one? What's a good one for you?
Easy ones. Only kidding.
Scoot back.
Scoot back, touch 1/4.
You want a normal touch a quarter because you just finished a square through 3.
Slide through. Scoot back. Do a single hinge. Earl's trade. Recycle. Pass to the center and center square through 3.
And that's an interaction with the rest of the square. There's my snapshot. What's the next call, everybody? Alaman left, right and left.
How about, can we try something else like, can I do a boys run 1.5? Is that possible?
It is totally possible, but you'd have to get your checkers out to do it because Contaminations doesn't do this.
Never mind.
I'm not looking for fancy. I'm just looking for the technique. But
gotcha.
That being said, when you start doing boys run 1.5 or
and roll,
putting in little variations, isolated sight is an excellent tool for doing that kind of choreographic management. It allows you to play with the movements, it allows you to play with the dancers, and it allows you to control where they are, because all you're going to do is move them around and get them right back to those exact same footprints, and you're resolved. You don't have to worry about the resolution technique. All you've done is you've taken 3 things that you already know. Movement management, or the movement mechanics, what that movement does, and formation mechanics. Basically, what formation am I going to do with 2 couples? Am I in a mini wave? Am I in facing couples? Am I in a box? Am I all in the same line? Am I in an ocean wave? Those are really your only options with 2 couples. I'm in an ocean wave, I'm in a box, I'm all in the same line facing one direction, or I'm in an ocean wave going up the hall or across the hall, or I'm couples back to back. There are no other formations for 2 couples really, other than transient formations. And things like diamonds and T-bones, and they're just transient formations. You move in, you do what you have to do, you move out, and you're back to 2 couple dancing. So for isolated sight, that's all. And you already have all of the techniques to use this. All you're doing now is just saying, right, head square through, I'm looking at those outside couples, I'm doing 2 couple movements. Once I put them right back there, I can call an Alaman left, or I can flip them over to the other side. You know all of this stuff already. Any questions? Everybody's muted, so I don't know if anybody's saying anything. How do you unmute all?
There, everybody's unmuted.
Right, so does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask?
No.
No.
Oh, how'd we get that square?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry.
I'm going to stop recording now.
All right.